Okay, I'm gonna sit here and imagine that the latency and all the tech issues are gonna be so much better and so much smoother compared to what we had before. And we're not gonna waste any time and jump right into it. No dilly-dallying, no delays, just pure, unadulterated cuteness. Pure Disney magic and wonder. There is going to be about like a 5-second delay from chat. This is the most we can do on the lowest latency possible. So, but I'm reading the chat in real time, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm monitoring everything. We have no frame drops. Signal is strong. We are good to go. Happy Sunday, everybody. Hope you're all having a good one. Just drank some soda and have my lifeblood returned to me. I figured we'd go a little cute today, considering that we're talking about, and maybe some cute things, some not so cute things, etc. But yeah, we're gonna have a fun time. This is definitely gonna be a shorter stream than normal. I think Sundays I'm trying to like make them a bit more snappier, a bit more curated. And while I can't like show any Disney footage or play any Disney music on YouTube or Twitch because I'll get sniped into oblivion. It's a joke, YouTube. We can definitely talk about some things. So we're going to do a tier list. I found a tier list that lists pretty much all of the animated Disney movies that came out from Snow White all the way up until the recent stuff. The only movie I have not seen on this list has been the most recent movie, Inside Out 2. But we'll be able to talk about everything else in the meantime. Okay? So, the rules are simple. It has to be a Disney animated film that had some type of theatrical release, so the direct-to-DVD stuff we're not doing, and all of the films that were released under different banners, despite being acquired by Disney later, do not count. So don't ask me to review like the Ice Age movies, which are now technically Disney movies, after the 20th Century Fox buyout. So, without further ado, let us jump right into it. I've got the list right here. Right here behind me. All right. So, I'm going to move out of the way. Move out the way! Haha! Let's make sure I'm properly prepped. Aubrey, please refrain from using the N-word in chat. We do not use that, despite the fact that I am half Haitian. I don't like using that word, and I do not want it anywhere like in my chat or on my screen. Please be respectable to like the standard rules and understandings of like YouTube etiquette. I would appreciate that. So we have, oh, I think there's actually Sleeping Beauty not on here. I didn't realize that. Shoot, we're already missing a movie. Hold on. Because I'm pretty sure Sleeping Beauty was the first Disney animated movie. I might have missed some, and if I did, we'll add them later. So it's all good. There we go. And yes, Nightmare Before Christmas. Good catch. There we go. Oh, Snow White was the first movie? Okay. I could have sworn it was Sleeping Beauty. Because I know that was like revolutionary in a bunch of different ways. Frankenweenie. Yeah, it does mostly stick to like the 2D and 3D stuff. The stop motion stuff is definitely underappreciated, but we'll include those too. And if we come across any that like we might have missed after going through everything, we'll add them later. Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. I'll move, so the very beginning we got Snow White. We're doing a classic S to F tier system here. First one is Snow White. Now, when it comes to Snow White, it was revolutionary in a lot of ways because a lot of people didn't really like know about or know how to appreciate Disney at the animation at the time. So Snow White in a lot of ways was kind of like a big jumping off point. So I almost want to rank it higher for its legacy. And a lot of like the 2D animation does still hold up tremendously well today. With regards to whether or not I return to it, I've only seen this movie twice. Once when I was very, very young, and once a couple years ago as part of like a marathon that I did with a friend. Doesn't super still stand out to me. There are some gorgeous scenes that still stand out to me, but as a movie, I think it benefits from being short and kind of just not following a standard 3-act structure, because these movies, the standard for what counted as an animated movie back then was very different from what we consider today. And it makes me very, very curious regarding what is going to happen with the upcoming live action that just got announced, because there's arguably way more gaps for this movie that need to be filled in for this to like actually matter as a full feature-length movie compared to a lot of the other live action Disney remakes. But for its legacy and for the fact that it still has a lot of iconic stuff that stands out today, I'm gonna put it, yeah, I think high C. I think right in the middle, high C is a good place to put it for now. Now, Pinocchio, this is a film that I remember rewatching a lot when I was younger. Sorry, I had to drink my Coke. I still think like the original. I actually revisited this fairly recently after, it was last year or the year before. The year before last was like the year of Pinocchio movies. We had like 3 freaking Pinocchio movies all come out around the same time. We had the live action Disney remake. We had live action. I'm going to put that in huge air quotes. A lot of that movie was just green screen and CGI. Kind of like the live action Jungle Book movie, which is always so weird when people are like, oh, this is a live action movie. I'm like, but there's nothing, you could argue it's hyper realistic. It's not live action though. There was what were people labeling as the gay Pinocchio movie. Daddy, when am I allowed to go out on my own? I've got the whole world to see. Which, fun fact, was actually an American dub of a Russian Pinocchio movie. I actually did a video and a lot of research on that film when it originally came out. It's not good. Don't watch it. It's good to watch if you're drunk, and it's fun to watch for the memes, but that's about it. And then obviously we had the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio movie, which was certainly different. It was different compared to the original story, and and it was different from a lot of the previous adaptations that we had. I would argue that's probably one of the best Pinocchio films in general that we've had in the past couple of decades. Definitely go watch it if you haven't already on Netflix. But regarding this one specifically, sad fact that Geppetto's VA was not a good person. Oh, that sucks. The African-American household has, when they have the grocery bags, they put in the corner of the pen. I don't know what that means. Okay. But the original animated Pinocchio movie, I think, does still hold up tremendously well. I think it still has like a good lesson for kids. I still think it's got some terrifically haunting imagery. Obviously they had to censor and tweak a lot of stuff from the original book. The original book was like leaned a lot more into, given how a lot of Grimm's tales were like this, a lot of the dark imagery had to be toned down. A lot of the racism also had to be toned down, obviously. But there are still, the scene where like the kid first transforms into a donkey, I still think that's like a horrifying image that like holds up today. So I'm going to put this actually in the B tier. Fantasia. Okay. The original Fantasia movie, I had the VHS tape for this, and it was one of those films that I rewatched so much as a kid that I nearly broke the disc. I nearly broke the tape because, you know, fun fact when it comes to VHS tapes, the ribbon, if you watch them too many times in quick succession, you wear out the ribbon and you end up like burning the footage basically. So that's how much I rewatched the original Fantasia. The original Fantasia and the sequel to a lesser extent, but still noteworthy one, they're basically just big bombastic animation showcases. There is like a story in the background of a lot of the shorts, and they do kind of tie together with the music and stuff. But honestly, the original Fantasia, I'd argue it's a masterpiece. I'd argue in terms of pure animated spectacle, it is a masterpiece. And I would argue that we still have not had animation and music synergy in the same way that we have had with the original Fantasia since then. So this is 100% going to be S tier for me. Next, the original Dumbo. The original Dumbo is interesting. Oh yeah, The Sorcerer's Apprentice is iconic. So much so they tried to turn the animated short of The Sorcerer's Apprentice into a live action movie, and it was not good. I love Nicolas Cage, but it was not good. Dumbo is interesting. Dumbo is a film that I think is kind of more well known for its set pieces and like it's one-off funny moments than it is remembered as a film. Like even when the live action Dumbo film came out, and there's been a few, but like the recent Disney live action Dumbo film, I don't think there were a lot of people kind of going crazy over it, like besmirching the original, outside of like how they were going to handle the crows, because the crows were leaned a little bit into the black stereotype. I think it was a lot more subtle compared to some of the other things that we'll get into that Disney has done in some of their other animated movies. But in terms of Dumbo himself, I mean, Dumbo's not really a character. He's a kid, and you want this kid to be happy. But there wasn't really a lot in terms of what I can remember about Dumbo as a character that stands out. It was just a case of shitty thing happening to an innocent kid. You want the innocent kid to like kind of find his way back home. And that's really it. I would argue that this functions more as like I would almost argue that Dumbo functions more as an animated short than an animated movie. So I would probably put Dumbo in D. Not a bad movie, but definitely not one that really like stands out or has like stood the test of time. Bambi. Okay, this is a tricky one because Bambi is iconic in so many different ways. When you ask people like people my generation and like older, what animated thing traumatized you as a kid? 7 to 8 out of 10 times people are going to say it was Bambi. And you know what? That is totally fair. It is a really heavy, traumatic thing that while they don't show anything explicit, the way that the scene is built up and the way that you just hear the bang echo and cut out the music and the way it lingers on that silence, it's scary. It's really, really scary. And the fact that it still sticks with so many people today is noteworthy. Now, the question is, does the film work beyond that? Does it work beyond the initial shock value? Is it like, I want to say, does it answer the Up question? You know, the film Up, we'll get to it when we get to it, but does the film hold up outside of the opening 10 minutes? I would argue that it does. I would argue that it does more so than a lot of other films, because while there isn't a lot of dialogue, and you could argue that similar to Dumbo, Bambi himself isn't really a character as much as he is just like a kid that had something really horrible happen to him. I would argue that unlike Bambi, the scenery and the environment and just yes, Yes? I can't right now. I'm in the middle. Okay. Sorry. I would argue that Bambi really does stand out in terms of its scenery, its art design, the music. Oh, you go back and listen to the original soundtrack for Bambi, and it is equal parts haunting and whimsical. Like, it is a really, really good atmospheric film. And I would argue that it does actually hold up tremendously well today. It holds up in a way where I ask myself kind of the live action question: if it came back as a live action movie, would it, like, is there anything that I think could be improved upon? And I don't think there can, for what it's seeking out to do. For what it's seeking out to do, like showing this kid kind of slowly explore life and come out of this place of trauma to grow up, and doing it in almost a silent film fashion. Yeah, the other animals talk, but Bambi doesn't really talk. I think it's really, really good. I'm definitely putting Bambi kind of in the A tier. I think that's a good place to put it. Oh, Scandos Amigos. I did have a VHS tape that had Sandos Amigos and The Three Caballeros, and so this was kind of a series of like animated short films that Disney was putting out, and they were just kind of off the wall crazy. Skipping ahead a little bit, The Three Caballeros was my favorite, and it's crazy nonsense, but I would argue it is the strongest of those like musical themed animated films that Disney put out. We are the three caballeros together we're birds of a feather. And I'm so glad that they actually brought back the Three Caballeros and referenced it in the DuckTales reboot series that came out. I love it. I love it so much. So I definitely put the Three Caballeros probably, but even at its best, because the Three Caballeros, it's kind of like a showcase of different cultures and ideas through music and like really wacky out there animated segments. Whereas the Three Caballeros kind of act as like a bridge between it. So I definitely think it's the strongest. The World War II package films. Yeah, Disney wasn't above like having its own form. Whoops. I would argue Warner Brothers was way worse, but Disney was not above having like its own propaganda films to put out there. There was a Three Caballeros show too. Yeah, it was fairly short-lived from what I remember. I did watch a couple of episodes of it, but it still doesn't stick with me as much as this film does. So I definitely put the Three Caballeros as the best, but even then it's probably in B tier. The other one, The Fun and the Fancy Free. Actually, I think I would put Melody Time right behind the Three Caballeros. I would say it was the one that, like, it was probably the first film where I was first exposed to Donald. I watched Melody Time before the Three Caballeros, and Melody Time, Donald is given a bit more focus, and it's probably the first time that like I kind of liked or like got on board with Donald's crazy angry energy. So I'll put it right behind Three Caballeros in the B tier, but the others I'm gonna kind of put in C tier. The music I don't think is as memorable. The Fun and the Fancy Free is I like The Fun and the Fancy Free. It just didn't stick. I'd probably put it above the other two. It just wasn't as good for me. I'm kind of judging like these packaged films as like rating them amongst each other, thinking like, okay, what was the best and what was the worst, and kind of like ranking it like that. So this is also probably the first time I watched a Disney film as a kid and thought, oh, they're actually showing respect to other cultures. That's kind of nice. Because even as a kid, there were some things in Disney movies where I'm like, maybe don't show that, or maybe don't do that. Just a thought. Here comes a thought. Also, I'm going to zoom in a bit. There we go. Mr. Toad. Okay, I loved this short. My grandpa really, really loved this film. He loved it a lot for his comedy. He really loved the kind of dopey, dumb slapstick comedy. He was a big fan of Three Stooges. And I would argue this is one of like the first animated films Disney put out that really kind of leaned into a lot of that live action slapstick style that was becoming really popular on network television around this time. No, the headless horse was also like really, really terrifying, but unlike, maybe I was already traumatized a lot as a kid, unlike a lot of the other stuff that was highlighted in some of the other films like Bambi and stuff, the Headless Horseman didn't really scare me. I also watched a live action Headless Horseman film when I was really young. I really should not have when I was younger. That terrified me more, but I did like I liked Mr. Toad's energy. I liked the horse. I liked him and the horse kind of going at it a lot. Whoop, hit my mic. It was just really, really funny. I'll probably put it also in the C tier. I'll put it right behind, I'll put it right in front of Fun and Fancy Free. The comedy definitely like carries it more. Definitely probably the funniest film on this list right now. I think kind of similar to Dumbo, it functions better as like an animated short or like an animated episode than a movie. Because as we go along, we're starting to like skew the line of what a movie is. And there's a reason why a lot of these things were released as package deals, because they don't really last as much on their own. But if you put them together as a package, it's like, oh, we're getting bang for our bucks. That's pretty cool. Cinderella. So Cinderella, I know, is like a very contentious Disney film for a lot of people. I know some people think that it has not held up as well because of the Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty's here, right? Did I forget to add Sleeping Beauty? Oh, Sleeping Beauty is there. I'm an idiot. It used a different poster than what I was expecting. Okay, my bad. But yeah, so Cinderella is, I'm actually curious about what chat thinks, because Sleeping Beauty is a very contentious choice. I've had like some very interesting and involved conversations with people about Sleeping Beauty, about whether or not it holds up as a film, because some people seem to have, and I think this also translates into why a lot of people actually liked the live action Sleeping Beauty that came out a couple years ago. I didn't like it super much. I think it had that issue of like kind of beating you over the head with certain things. When it comes to Cinderella, there's the message of does it feel earned? Did Cinderella earn the stuff that her happy ending at the end? Because if you think about it, she doesn't have a lot of agency in the film proper. She definitely like does a lot of things, but in terms of her actually working towards getting her happy ending, she arguably doesn't get that. She arguably, it's not like she does a lot to earn the prince's love or anything like that. It's just a case of she shows up at the party, they fall in love, and it's really, honestly, like the mice are more active characters in the film. They're the ones that kind of like help Cinderella out of her funk. They're the ones that kind of help move the plot along. And as far as the slipper goes, Rand, let me explain. When I say earned it, not that, this is what I'm going to get into. There's two ways of earning something. There's working really, really hard in general, and then being rewarded for it in like a way that you didn't expect. And then there's working hard towards something specific and then getting the thing that you're working hard towards. I think a lot of people might not think Cinderella holds up because of the latter aspect of what they think hard work means. Where it's like, oh, Cinderella didn't work towards this. She's very passive towards the events of the film, and therefore, like, fairy godmother shows up and is like, I'm gonna give you a chance to be happy, and she arguably kind of fumbles it a bit. She does not get home in time. She doesn't get home in time, and she doesn't like go out and like find the prince or even like makes a stand for herself. They're like, no, that slipper is mine. It's really more by happenstance or by the instigation of others that she gets her happy ending. But I'm much more of a follower and proponent of the first idea of hard work, where it doesn't matter if you're working towards something specific. The thing is, Cinderella is a character that was dealt a shitty hand, but she worked hard towards it. She was never happy or complacent with where she was, but she didn't really feel like she was able to get anything beyond what she had. And at the end of the day, the whole point of the fairy godmother is that you work hard and don't really ask for a lot in return. So I'm going to give you a chance at getting happy. Now, would I have liked a little bit more agency from her in the film proper? Yeah. It would have been nice if there was more of a direct through line, but if there was like just more there between the prince and Cinderella. Honestly, I think there's more character and more personal agency in the sequel Cinderella films than in this one. But the sequel Cinderella films are also like wild. I actually kind of want to rewatch those and revisit those. It's a little funny. But in terms of how this film is on its own, whether in terms of like how it stands up and whether or not I constitute it as a good film, I do. It's also probably like the first Disney film that I watched where like I really, really liked the music for it. Obviously Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo, but just like a lot of the orchestra pieces in the background were really, really good. I'm gonna put Cinderella probably right behind Pinocchio. I think that's a fair place to put it. I think Pinocchio leaves a stronger impact and is like a better film for kids, but I do think in terms of if we're going for a more like overt message, I think Cinderella still kind of holds up. Alice in Wonderland. Okay. I feel like with Alice in Wonderland, most people remember it fondly. But I think in recent years, we've gotten to a point where a lot of people, how would you rate Boondocks? We're not talking about Boondocks today, but let's try to keep on topic. In terms of like Alice in Wonderland, is it a good adaptation of the original Alice in Wonderland book? I would argue no, it is not. I would argue it is not a good adaptation of the original book. Then again, we've barely like looked at these things as fair adaptations of their original source material. I only bring that up because it feels like the only people that actually dislike this film are people that are massive fans in the book, and the book is really good. I would argue the book is a classic. But on its own, I think Alice in Wonderland is still a wonderfully imaginative and creative film. It doesn't really have a plot to it, or rather, it is just a bunch of things happening to Alice. The book, I think, did a better job, or a lot of other adaptations, not the Tim Burton ones, but like there are other Alice in Wonderland adaptations out there. I think did a good job of balancing the nonsense sort of having a point to it, whereas the Alice in Wonderland Disney film is more about like random things happening to Alice and her trying to like cleverly find her way out of there. I think it's fine. I will definitely go back and rewatch it, but it's definitely not something that like I'm chomping at the bit to go back to. It's an okay level in Kingdom Hearts, I think, is its biggest, most recent contribution. I'll put it in front of Dumbo. Come on. I'll put it in front of Dumbo, but that's about it. Oh, the Cheshire Cat? Yeah, the Cheshire Cat is iconic. And like, there are really good like scenes, but in terms of, and they're really good scenes, But in terms of whether or not, like, I think it's a solid film, again, I'll watch it if someone puts it on, and I'll enjoy the imagery and the craziness, but I don't think it'll stick with me as much. I almost don't think it goes as crazy as it probably could with the medium that it's playing with. Peter Pan. So this is actually a funny story about Peter Pan. Peter Pan, growing up, used to be one of my favorite Disney movies. Because growing up, like, I grew up as a boy, and it's like, oh, like, I like action and guns and Indians and sword fighting, and I want to go to, and I never want to grow up or anything like that. The Cheshire Cat became more iconic than the film that the animated depiction was in. I get what you mean about it being okay. Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it, idea. I think there are some things in the film that became more iconic than the film itself. That's an excellent way of putting it. But Peter Pan, so Peter Pan's actually interesting because I think there's a lot about Peter Pan that does and absolutely does not hold up today. It's hard to like ask yourself, does Peter Pan hold up? Because there are some things in this film that absolutely do not hold up today. I actually recently came across a tweet where someone shared that at Disneyland, they actually redid the Indian section of like one of the Disney Peter Pan Disney attractions to make the Indians less caricatures. And it's like, yeah, that was probably for the best. Love Peter Pan. Good level in every Kingdom Hearts game it's been in. Sad about how the industry treats Peter Pan. Yeah, that's just it. There's so much like negativity around Peter Pan that's really, really hard to look at it in a vacuum. So aside from like obviously the depictions of certain characters that have not held up well today, as well as the and there's a lot of violence in this movie too. So here's a story for all of you guys. I work at a school, and when I was working at this school, sometimes if the kids were really good or if there was like a free day for the kids, sometimes we'd put on a movie for them. And I put on Turning Red at the time because Turning Red had just come out. So I thought, oh, I'll show the kids Turning Red and see what they think about it. And the kids loved the film. But then the assistant principal told me that I'm not allowed to show the film to the kids anymore because apparently one of the mothers of the kids said, I don't want them to watch that movie because it's inappropriate for kids, and somehow convinced my assistant principal that the movie was PG-13. Even though I'm like, no, it's not. And my assistant principal just took the parent at her word. Like, I just showed the assistant principal on my phone, no, the film was rated PG. She's like, then why did she think the film was PG-13? She said that like, there was inappropriate stuff in the movie. I'm like, there's like one passing line alluding to a character having a period. Because remember, this was like a big scare thing that a lot of dumb people on the internet were like getting pissy about. And I'm like, that's not what the film is about, like at all. So, but like I had this like whole back and forth with my assistant principal, and I'm like, whatever, like it's fine. I went back to my room, and the school counselor just finished like going over an exercise with the kids, and the kids finished it early. So she's like, oh, Mr. Bolts, can you put on a Disney movie for the kids as a thank you? And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. So I put up my laptop. So I plugged in my laptop and I'm putting on my Disney Plus account, and she's like, ooh, what if we put on Peter Pan? I think that'd be a good movie for the kids. And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, let's put on for the kids. So I put on Peter Pan, and literally on Disney Plus, there's that big ass warning where it's like, some depictions in this film have not aged well. For the sake of like historical context and everything, we've kept them in, but bear in mind, like, this is not how like certain depictions are accurate to modern day or everything. And I'm like, oh, that's a great start. And then literally there's a scene in the film where we cut to Captain Hook on his pirate ship, and one of his men is up in the rafters, like singing a song with his accordion and being very obnoxious, and Hook is getting pissed off. So he just straight up pulls out a gun, locks it and shoots the gun off screen, and you don't see the bullet hit the guy, but the singing stops and you just hear the like the guy's dead body fall into the water. And I'm looking at this like, but this is okay, right? We can't have a movie talk about like you know, what could potentially go on with a kid's body or anything like that, but we could just show a person blatantly dying on screen. I love it. And yes, chat pointed this out too. If you know the dark history behind Peter Pan's voice actor, it's really, really fucked up. And it's one of the main reasons why I hate that fucking Chip and Dale movie that came out. It's fine if you think it's funny, it's fine if you think it's witty, but it is such in poor taste that they made one of the main villains in that movie a washed up Peter Pan, when literally Disney drove the original voice actor for Peter Pan, drove him to do something that I can't say on stream or under risk of this video getting suppressed. And I don't want to do that. Look it up though. It's a really, really fucked up story, and it highlights why we need to have better protection for kids in the entertainment industry. You know what they say, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Am I right? But in terms of the film proper, I think there's a lot of like fun, and I think there's a lot of fun in the film proper. It's just so hard to appreciate it outside of all of the stuff that's like around it. So maybe this is a little fair. I wish I could rank it higher, but I think I'm going to rank it high C. If I could strictly look at the film in the background outside of its problematic stuff, or if it just didn't have a lot of the problematic stuff around it, it would probably be like a high B for me. But for now, I'm going to put it in high C. Lady and the Tramp. Do you guys like... There was a weird time in our history where America was just obsessed with films about a classy, high-end... There was a period in America's life where people were like obsessed with films and stories about classy, high-end society women getting with like grungy, street rat type of people. Yeah, it kind of is like West Side Story minus like, I guess the brother murder and stuff like that. Obviously, Lady and Tramp is a more clean version of like that West Side Story thing, but I just think it's funny that it just occurred to me. It's like, wait, there were a lot of films like Lady and the Tramp that came out around this time. And it's like, what was our obsession with that? Was it the taboo aspect of it? Was it the taboo aspect of, oh, I'm a classy lady from a high society with a posh accent, and I've got all these wonderful things being pampered on left and right, but there's just something about this grungy man working on his car in the alleyway or sifting through the trash that makes me think there's more to life than just that. And it's funny that like that's kind of the path those films would take, but the way the films would, because the Aristocats was the same way. I might actually lump these two films together. The Aristocats is the exact same way. But I always find it funny that these films would start off from the perspective of like the woman, and it would be about like her getting more out of life by exploring things outside of the like posh high society. But the film would always end with the guy being integrated into the high society. Like, it would never... yeah. It feels like the reverse should have happened in those films. Am I making sense? Like, if the whole idea is that, oh, there's more to life out there than this bubble I'm in, shouldn't the message be about getting outside the bubble instead of bringing people inside of it? I mean, you could argue, oh, but like now that they're inside the bubble, they can make the bubble more fun. And it's like, I don't know. I don't really see them living the same fulfilled life that they glamorized, given the way that those films end. And yes, I think The Aristocrats nudges out the Lady and the Tramp a bit more because the music is so good. Again, except for the racism, except for the blatant Chinese racism, Jesus Christ. Everybody wants to be a cat. Hey, everybody wants to be a cat. I'll admit I'm one of those people where like that is my favorite song in the film, but I know that there are other songs in it, and I love we'll also get into this a little bit with 101 Dalmatian. I love the sketchy kind of pencil line art direction of the Aristocats way more than I like the more cleaned up animated films like Sleeping Beauty and Lady and the Tramp. Like, it just feels so like dirty, you know? And I like it. Like, you can almost see the pencil shavings on the paper still on the animation cells. It's such, I love it. I think the racist aspect does pull it back a little bit, but I think I would put the Aristocats probably right here behind Cinderella. Hey, John Knight. And I think I'd put Lady and the Tramp. Honestly, I think I'd put it down here. Yeah, it's fine, but the music isn't really that memorable. Even during like the iconic scene that's been parodied back and forth, I don't remember much about it. Oh, and there's like an awful sequel that's about their kid that we don't really talk about. Well, we'll talk about it the next time we do a ranking system of like the direct-to-DVD ones. Oh, the Mickey ears make me look cute. Thank you. I feel very cute. I guess this is like one of the rare times that YouTube has seen this model, but I really like it. And yeah, 101 down. Since I was just talking about like the sketchy art design. Well, no, let's continue to go in order. So Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty is also iconic, but similar to like Snow White, I think this is why I thought the films came out closer together than they actually did. Similar to Snow White, I don't think there's much to Sleeping Beauty outside of one or two things. Honestly, if it wasn't for Maleficent being just peak Disney villain, absolute, when I think of the pure classic Disney villain, I think of Maleficent. And yes, Rand would, absolutely would. There's just something about her design, the way she carries herself, her pettiness. There's so much about it that's just mwah, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I would argue that Maleficent would carries the film a lot on its own, and the climax is spectacular. The downside is that Sleeping Beauty herself and the prince have like no character, and it feels weird because maybe this film was supposed to be a throwback to Sleeping Beauty. It feels weird that at this point Disney was starting to get good at writing characters, but it's like all the character writing went into Maleficent and the fairies, and that's it. And here's the thing, I don't really like the fairies. Like, the fairies, it feels like they're trying to lean into the bumbling idiot trope with the fairies. Like, you know, basically female Three Stooges. But I never found it funny. I never found that comedy funny, and considering that the fairies take up like half of the film, it doesn't click with me as much. I'll put it... It's tricky. It's very, very tricky. Because I feel like I would just rewatch Sleeping Beauty for the Maleficent scenes. But are the Maleficent scenes worth all the other stuff? That's what's tricky. I would argue it's very middle of the road. So I'll put it like here. I'll pair it right next to Snow White. Again, because I originally thought that this was a Snow White movie. Or like, I thought that this came out around the time that Snow White came out. I'm a thirsty bitch. Okay, 101 Dalmatians. Definitely one of the films I think about when I talk about that like sketchy art style. I like how cozy 101 Dalmatians is. It's like the first half of the film is very, very cozy. And the first half of the film is very, very cozy. And then the second half of the film is like, it's just Corella's movie. It's just Corella's movie. And I think she is also like a peak Disney villain. Like, damn, I want to see Cruella de Vil and Maleficent go out for drinks like the lesbian power couple they probably would be, and just plot stealing babies and murdering. I want to see them go out on a nice coffee date together like the power couple they are, and just talk very casually about murdering children or something. Because that's kind of what they do, you know? It's like one of them threatens, I'm gonna put your kid into an eternal sleep, basically kill her. And the other is like, I'm going to skin and murder all of your puppies. So I think it's awesome. I think in a lot of ways, 101 Dalmatians is, I'll put it like right behind Pinocchio, I would say. Because Cruella, the art style is great. Cruella carries the film really hard. It's super cozy. I love, this is gonna sound really weird, I love the narration of the film. I love the dogs narrating the film and just kind of talking about their humans, and how the dogs get the humans together is really cute. Like, it's this really nice calculated thing. And I'll be honest, I actually kind of like the live action 101 Dalmatians a little bit. Nothing will beat like the hand-drawn style, but I feel like it's one of the only films that actually tried to match the tone of the original animated one. Like, it does have kind of a coziness to it. All right, The Sword in the Stone. This and The Black Cauldron, I'm gonna kind of put together, because I have the exact same critique for both of these films. They are boring. They're very, very boring. They are films where there's a setup and then like 30 minutes of nothing happening. For Sword in the Stone, it's the Merlin segments. And for The Black Cauldron, there's a lot of long, drawn-out scenes of nothing really happening except the tropes that Disney was trying very, very hard to lean into. It's weird because in a lot of ways, I feel like The Black Cauldron was Disney trying to execute a formula that they hadn't nailed down yet. And also, like, this little dog gremlin thing annoyed the shit out of me when I was younger. And I think if I go back, it would annoy the shit out of me even more. I would play a clip of him because I remember he had like this like very gargled voice. And yeah, the wizard duel was fun, but it felt like a distraction, you know? That it's another case of, this is a one fun section in a movie where not a lot is going on. So I couldn't really get behind it. So I'm actually going to put these films down here. In fact, Black Cauldron also has the stipulation that it nearly killed Disney. It was Disney's first big financial bomb. Like, it was the first film where Disney was like, oh shit, we gotta course correct. We gotta think of something else because we put all this time and money into this film and it is not hitting. Jesus Christ. So yeah, no, it's definitely was not hitting with that. Oh, here come the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I want to sing this song. It's been such a long time since I sung it. Look for the bare necessities. the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, old Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities to life. I love it so much. I love the Horned King. Gur can die. Oh, Gurgi. Yeah, that was the little creature saying he can die. He can go die in a fire. We don't need him. Jungle Book. I think Jungle Book also kind of falls into that similar camp of like 101 Dalmatians, where I think it's at its best when it's cozy, where it's just kind of Baloo vibing out, not worrying too much about anything, and trying to like kind of teach this kid just to kind of chill out. If you think about it, I know it's like based on its own book, but the Jungle Book was kind of like prototype Tarzan, if you think about it. Where everybody is like it's all about a kid who's trying to learn like what world he wants to be a part of, and the animals are looking after him, and some animals want him dead, some animals want him to chill out, some animal... Oh, it was the first movie made after Disney's death. I didn't realize that. Damn. That's kind of interesting. It would also explain a little bit some of the creative differences between it and the original book. The original book for the Jungle Book, it's dark as shit. It's really dark. And I do think a lot of the songs do kind of carry. And what's his name? Ka? The villains in the movie are also like really, really good. I'll put it in front of Cinderella. Hey, Shadow. Yeah, I'll put it in front of Cinderella. I think it still holds up pretty well. And again, it's also got that peak sketchy art style that I really, really like. We're almost like kind of at the end of it, of the sketchy art style. Yeah, I think it goes all the way up until The Little Mermaid. So, here we go. Yeah, I think it's before we start. I think it was until The Little Mermaid that we started switching to digital animation. Robin Hood. Okay, look. You could argue, oh, Robin Hood, there's not really much to it. It's just a simple Robin Hood story. Look, the slapstick is good. It's still good to this day. Robin Hood himself, it's such a fun, charismatic character. The king is hilarious. The king and like his like escort or guy is hilarious. It's just a very simple, solid, fun film. And I'd be remiss to say that it did contribute in large part to my furry awakening. Like, Robin Hood walked so Rouge the Bat could run, in my eyes. I would highly recommend Doug Walker's. Oh, I don't really watch... I've watched a lot of Doug Walker's videos on this. I also haven't watched a lot of him recently after a lot of the Channel Awesome stuff came out. So, yeah, no. I'd rather research these films on my own. But I love Robin Hood. Robin Hood, honestly, this might be a bit much, but I might actually put Robin Hood in A. I know it's like comparing apples to oranges. I'm not saying that like Robin Hood is as dark or as intricate as like Pinocchio or Bambi or anything like that. But I think in terms of like pure rewatchability and in terms of like pure impact on me, I think Robin Hood still holds up incredibly well. Oh, the first Winnie the Pooh movie. Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, da 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 da, bop 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 bop. It's a rewatch 100%. We will probably rewatch that film for like our next Disney movie night, because I'm very much looking forward to checking it out again. It's so good. It's so good. Robin and Marianne would both of them. Facts. I still hate the baseball game of Winnie the Pooh. Well, the weird thing about Winnie the Pooh, about both Winnie the Pooh movies, because there's two, and it's actually really depressing that the next Winnie the Pooh movie is, I think, to this day, the last hand-drawn 2D animated Disney movie. It's really, really sad. Winnie the Pooh is like very interesting because Winnie the Pooh doesn't really have a plot to him. Winnie the Pooh, it's all a bunch of short stories that are all about like innocence. I know there's like a lot of like, there's a lot of introspection about Winnie the Pooh as a franchise, how it's like, oh, you know, Winnie the Pooh, it's all imaginary. It's about a kid going through like different stages of his mental health, like depression and ADHD and pleasure eating and stuff like that. And I do think there is some truth to that. But like the main appeal of Winnie the Pooh is that he's kind of, even more so than Mickey Mouse, I would argue, he's sort of the epitome of innocence. I don't think his films are really, I think Winnie the Pooh works best in like a short form episodic format where it's just kind of the guys going on simple little adventures. I think that's where it works best. When you just take those shorts, cram them together and call that a movie, I think it actually diminishes the value of those shorts a little bit. So I don't know. The first Winnie the Pooh movie, it's not bad. And I think it does exemplify like what Winnie the Pooh is the strongest at. I just don't think it's as good as a film, you know? So I would probably put this film behind Snow White. I would not mind watching it if it was on, but there would be a part of me that's like, why is this a movie? This does not need to be a movie. The Rescuers! Oh, I remember watching so much of The Rescuers when I was younger. The Rescuers, there was like a series of Disney movies where it was just, let's just go on an adventure. Like, there's not really a huge character arc or anything. It's just, we're gonna go on an adventure and there's gonna be like a pretentious bad guy that we need to take down. And that's it. That's the story. It's just one nice, simple ride. I kind of miss having movies like this. I feel like we're in a weird place where a lot of companies are kind of afraid to do movies like this. Like, imagine a Mad Max. Imagine, like, the appeal of Mad Max, where, oh, it's all about going on one big adventure, and it's, like, just constant noise and aggression and, like, show and set pieces at your fingertips. I would love to see something like that more. I think anime, there's a few movies that are like that, but I would love to see something about that, like, more in Western animated movies, like theatrical animated movies. I would probably put The Rescuers like right behind Peter Pan. I feel like there's a bit of an emotional component that's missing. I do like my films to be a bit more like emotionally involved and interesting. But yeah, I would definitely rewatch The Rescuers again. It's such a good movie. The main villain of The Rescuers was meant to be Cruella de Vil. Really? I could kind of see that. I can actually kind of see that. I would love to have seen that old universe. Okay, The Fox and the Hound. The Fox and the Hound. Is it, could you call it like a racism allegory movie in a way? I think you could have can. I think you could have can. I think you kind of can because it's about like two, or maybe even the West Side Story idea a little bit, where it's like two people that are not supposed to like be together, quote unquote. I know it's more of like a friendship story than anything else, but I'm very curious about like this idea of, it's just like two kids. It's like two kids that just want to indulge in their innocence when they're young and like be friends, but then as they get older, they realize they're not really meant to be friends anymore. And I'm glad that we do have a story that is able to like tell so The Fox and the Hound, it's basically like, because you know, hunters would get hounds in order to hunt down foxes and other speedy prey, or corner them so that way they could be hunted. So the whole point of this movie is that a young fox and a young hound become friends, but then when they get older, they're kind of forced to be at odds with each other. And it can get pretty brutal in terms of like that message of sometimes the world just doesn't let two people be friends like they want to be. I think it's a very like real movie in that sense. And I wish we had more movies kind of play with that message. The ending is a little bittersweet. But it does have like a lot of powerful imagery in it. I definitely think it almost could have gone darker. I feel like if anybody except Disney handled this movie, the overall message would have probably been darker. And I think there's a part of me that wishes that it went further with that. Channel that does deep dives into development of Disney films. I would love that. Yeah, share that in the Discord. Share that in like the YouTube section of Discord. But yeah, I'm very fascinated with this movie. I would probably put it, I think it's a little underrated. I think The Fox and the Hound is a little bit underrated, if I'm being honest. The Great Mouse Detective, aka Disney's Sherlock Holmes, because that's just what it is. It was Disney's Sherlock Holmes. I like it. I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan. So, but I'm also like very particular about like the Sherlock Holmes adaptations and media that I consume. I think this is a good adaptation. I wish we had more Great Mouse Detective films. I don't think this film did as well financially as Disney wanted it to. I could see The Great Mouse Detective being a franchise, but I love how much of an asshole the main character is. I love how evil and like menacing, and I love the design and the voice of the villain of this film. It's like a solid, I'll put it like kind of like right here, just fine. So I think it's a solid Sherlock Holmes story. Oliver and Company, the last film that Disney put out before its great renaissance. I want chat to tell me, do they remember anything about this film besides the song? Besides the Billy Joel song, is there anything you guys remember about this movie beyond that? Because I remember the song. I could quote the song. 1 minute I'm in Central Park, then I'm down on Delancey Street. Said from the Bowery to St. Mark's, there's a syncopated beat rhyme. Why should I worry? Why should I care? I may not have a dime, but I got street savoir faire. Why should I worry? Hey, why should I care? It's just bebopulation, and I got street savoir faire. I don't think I remember this movie. Fun fact, this movie came out around the same time as The Land Before Time. Like, I think they came out practically the same weekend. Yes, I remember everything about this movie. Okay, like, the general people, not the Disney nuts. I think people either don't remember this movie came out, don't remember this movie was a Disney movie, or they only remember, like, the main song for it. And I'm kind of in that camp. I think it's fine, but I also kind of don't rank it particularly high because it didn't really make a big impact. I don't think it like strengthened Billy Joel's career or anything. I think it kind of coasts a little bit on Billy Joel. I'll put it behind Alice in Wonderland because at least it's got that song. That song does a lot of heavy lifting. And again, this was probably the last film that incorporated that like really sketchy pencil art style that I love so much, which is a shame. But like those two things stop it from being like unwatchable, but I wouldn't really rank it particularly high. Now we're getting into the Renaissance. Now we're getting into that good shit. We're getting into that good shit. Let's go, mate. All right. Okay. I don't know why I suddenly turned Australian there. I apologize. Little Mermaid. Believe it or not, this is not my favorite Disney Renaissance film. I think it's got some great music. I think the villain is fantastic. And I like... Sorry. Chewing ice. I actually really, really like the fact that it's a movie about two people falling in love, if you think about it. I like the fact that there is I think this is probably the first Disney movie where there's like actually kind of a scene where the main lead has to actually try to get the other person to fall in love with them. Because that whole scene, the whole like segment, there's like a third of the movie basically where Ariel like can't talk and she has to basically win this guy over as a mute. I wonder how like some people look at this film as like mute representation. It's kind of interesting. And because she can't talk, the animation has to go extra hard in like showing her expressiveness. And like, I love the facial animations in this film. I love how like, yes, rest in peace to her voice actress. There's a lot of voice actors in these films on these lists that are no longer with us. I mean, it makes sense since a lot of these films date back to like the freaking 60s and 70s. Even if we assume they were at their prime back then, or like really young back then, they're either going to be really old or dead by now. That's unfortunately how time works. But I actually really, I think Little Mermaid has a lot going for it. I think, hey Ginger, how you doing? I do think that it has a lot going for it. There's a lot. The villain is great. The plan is actually really cool and inventive, where it's like, I'm going to force you into it's very like devil's in the details kind of plot, where it's like, I'm going to give you what you want. We're going to put a twist on it. And technically, Ursula never like really lies about anything. She manipulates, and she I would argue Ursula was the first like gatekeep, gaslight girl boss in a Disney movie. But I love how she plays the long game, where it's like, I love how she plays it in the long run. I love how she plays like the long run game, where it's like, I'm going to give you what you want. It's going to be a monkey's paw situation. Also, I have to restart my music. It's like a monkey's paw situation, but you are still going to have a chance to get what you want, but I'm also going to stack the deck against you by literally using your own voice against you. It's all very like maniacally evil, and I like it. I do think that it carries a lot. I know that there is also some contention about The Little Mermaid, about Ariel specifically as a character, because you could argue she goes through a change in the film too little, too late. Like, it isn't until literally everything is taken away from her that she realizes, oh, like, I'm so sorry, Daddy. But she doesn't necessarily learn a lesson, if you think about it. I like the fact that she needed to work in order to win the affection of Prince Eric, but I can kind of understand the argument that she's a spoiled brat teenager. But then that also gets into another thing where you want to excuse her behavior because she is kind of a spoiled teenager, and like she becomes less of a spoiled teenager by the end of the film. But then you also get into the mentality of, well, wait a minute, she does get married to Prince Eric at the end, so like, how young? Yeah, she's only 15. If she's canonically only supposed to be 15, like, I don't know, like, we're really pushing a film. It's like most Disney movies, like marriage and romance are both kind of synonymously pushed with these films. I don't know. I don't like the fact that this is probably one of the first Disney movies where she is kind of aged down, whereas like a lot of other films, the age of characters is kept a little bit ambiguous. Whereas with Ariel, it's kind of explicitly stated that she is a teenager. And while that does make her behavior make sense, I'm not sure if it excuses it, especially since she is kind of a really big brat for the first third of this movie. But it's also a thing where I question how the relationship with her and King Eric actually works, you know? But I don't want to think too hard about it. I think it's a solid film. I'll probably put it like above Peter Pan. Actually, I'll put it above Cinderella. I'm probably going to get some flack for that still, because I know there are some people that like freaking hate this movie. I know some people that think this is S tier. I don't really see it. Rescuers from Down the sequel to The Rescuers from Down Under. I don't love Bratz. Shut the fuck up. The Rescuers from Down Under, the sequel. I'm just gonna put this I'm gonna put this in front of the original Rescuers because it's basically the same movie. It's just another like big adventure set piece movie, but there are a few little things in it that I do think are better. The set pieces are bigger. I love the shot of the kids skating on the water. I think that like is an iconic shot. And I like the relationship between like the two main mice. I like that their story is kind of done after this sequel with them getting married at the end. I think that's really, really cute. The villain is so funny. The villain's just like, I actually think the villain's a little bit weaker in this movie. He's just a hunter. He's just like a cartoonishly evil hunter. And that's kind of it. And the kid actually isn't insufferable. For a Disney movie around this time, that's actually a pretty huge achievement. So I'll put it above the original Rescuers. Cool, Beauty and the Beast. Okay, this is easy. This is so easy. This is so easy. S tier. S tier. I will go on so many records and say that the original Beauty and the Beast is hands down probably my favorite two. Is it my actual top favorite? It's definitely in the top 3. I'll have to think about that a bit more. But there was a point for a very long time where I'm like, this is the best animated movie I have ever seen. This is the best Disney movie that I have ever seen. When this got nominated for like Best Picture, like it was iconic in so many ways. The music is iconic. The animated set pieces are iconic. The relationship building is iconic. We can joke about the Stockholm Syndrome. Yeah, let's joke about the Stockholm Syndrome. It's really, really funny. But I do think it's the first Disney movie that I think takes a lot of big swings and hits the ball right on the head for most of them. It's so good. It's so good. So I'm definitely going to rank it. I definitely rank it pretty high in that front. So yeah, hands down. Maybe when we go through the other ones, it won't be at like the tippy top, but it's still like a really, really good film that I rank exceptionally high. I love it. I love it. Why should I worry? I'm sorry. I still have that like song stuck in my head. Aladdin. Aladdin I also rank pretty high. And I don't think I have to kind of explain like why. So first off, the music is great. I can show you the world. Shining, shimmering, splendid. It's so good. It's so good. Actually, I think I would put it in S tier. I think I thought about it for a second. I'm like, you know what? I think I would put it in S tier because there's so much like good about this movie. The voice acting is great. I actually think that Jasmine and Aladdin has some of the strongest Disney couple energy out of most Disney films. I would have liked for them to spend a little bit more time together, but that scene where they're on the roof kind of talking about like longing for, like they're kind of having the same conversation, talking past each other, but they're still connecting with each other. And I really like that. Again, I would have liked it if they spent a little bit more time together. That's kind of like my only real complaint about the film, but the genie, mwah, iconic. Rest in peace, Robin Williams. And the way that Disney treated Robin Williams and treated this film in particular is scummy, and I hate it. Like the way that they treated the marketing and screwed over Robin Williams. And in a lot of ways, we could kind of blame Aladdin for celebrity casting in Disney animated films. Unfortunately, I do think that Aladdin kind of set the uncomfortable standard for that against Robin Williams' wishes, unfortunately. And again, it's very hard to separate a lot of what happens around a film from the film itself, because while I do think we should be able to appreciate art on its own, I don't think that means that we can always or should always appreciate art in a vacuum. So I think it is but this film just had so much of an impact on me. And it's so hard to like disassociate from that. Also, fun fact, in real life, I do kind of look like Aladdin. Or like when the live action came out, a lot of people joked that I looked like the live action Aladdin actor. And if you guys have seen pictures of me, you'll know that that is, there is a lot with that. Actually, I think I'm gonna move it over here. Only because I can't separate some of the bad stuff associated with Disney and this movie from it. I'm gonna put it top A. If it was just a little cleaner around it, then it would definitely be in the S tier. I think this is a fair place to put it though. But yeah, I would love to actually cosplay Aladdin one of these days. It's just, especially if we get to the live action, there's so much intricacy to his design that would have to go into it. If that's Gates Bolts, you have more personality than who they picked. Oh, thank you, Shadow. That means a lot. That really does mean a lot. You guys are too nice to me. Stop it. Stop being nice to me. I don't know what to say. You're gonna make me bashful. You're gonna make me bashful. God damn it, guys. Flattery will get you everywhere, guys. The Lion King. So, bit of a hot take. I know there are some people that look at The Lion King as like peak Disney, like that is the best Disney movie ever and since then, and nothing will ever top it, etc. I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Yeah. This is probably the only film on this list where it's like, I understand the hype. I respect the hype. I think it's a fantastic movie. Don't ask me if it's my favorite, because it is not. It's not. Okay, Furry Awakening. Well, here's the thing. I was already pretty far into. I was pretty much in the throes of my Furry Awakening when this film came out. So while Nala definitely helped, I was already like a lost cause at that point at a young age. When did this movie come out? How old was I? This movie came out. Oh, it gives me the fucking live action movie. No. Came out in 1994. I was 1 year old when this film came out. So obviously I didn't see it in theaters, but I rewatched it a lot through VHS tapes. And honestly, I didn't rewatch it a lot. I just didn't. It wasn't bad. There's a lot of things in this film that I like. I love Scar as a villain. I love Be Prepared. I love a lot of the voice acting. I don't like the voice acting for Simba. I don't like the voice acting for Simba that much. Matthew Broderick, I think he's a very funny guy. I don't know. There was something about his voice acting in this film that didn't jive with me super well. So it's like, I think it's got amazing scale. I think it's got amazing set pieces. Hakuna Matata is classic. The Circle of Life is classic. I will say though, I think I like a lot of the remixes of The Circle of Life that Disney would come out with years later or like decades later than I did the original that's in the movie. I'm definitely gonna put it high. Don't worry, because it definitely deserves to be high. I think I'll put it behind Aladdin. But it's not my favorite. I do respect it because I would argue this is what people think about when they think of peak Disney. And if that's the case, then like, hell yeah. And yes, I'm a furry, chat, okay? I'm a furry, all right? Like, we're not beating around the bush or anything. We're not like doing any big reveal or anything. I'm a furry, all right? Like, I feel like I am personally obligated to at least give this film a minimum 8 out of 10. And it's in the A rank, okay? There you go. Pocahontas. If we want to talk about a film that is like impossible to judge on its own, oh boy, I don't think it gets any worse than Pocahontas. Arguably one of the best looking 2D animated films ever created. Also probably one of the most tone deaf and insensitive movies that Disney ever put out. That's saying a lot. Okay, I'll say most insensitive animated movie they put out. Some of their live action stuff, it can be contentious, especially when we get to some of the older live action stuff. I have not actually watched a lot of the older live action animated, I have actually not watched a lot of the older live action movies that Disney put out, like Song of the South. I'm very curious about like where the contention for that film comes from, but I feel like I need to be in a certain headspace. But okay, it's not, yes, it's an Oscar bait movie, but I don't dislike it because it's an Oscar bait movie. I dislike it because the songs aren't that great. Pocahontas isn't really a character, and the just general insensitivity of the premise, it's really, really bad. I mean, it's literally about a native princess falling in love with a white colonizer named John Smith. And it's like, guys, come on. Also, I know I'm jumping ahead of it. The sequel for this, there was a direct to VHS sequel to this, kind of undoes a lot of this movie because Pocahontas ends up falling in love with a completely different white man. And it's just so funny when you think about it like that. It's a gorgeously animated film, probably one of the best looking 2D films that Disney has ever put out. The Disney CEO made this movie to win an Oscar with the Disney A team. The Disney B team made The Lion King. No, I did hear that story, and it's kind of funny that The Lion King was the better movie unilaterally. I almost want to hate this movie on principle. I kind of want to put it in F tier on principle. I'll put it in the back of D tier because the animation is so good, but everything else about this movie I kind of hate. Actually, no, I'll put it high F tier. Like, the only reason why it's not the bottom is because the animation. Everything else, and the voice acting is pretty solid. Everything else about this movie I fucking hate. Hunchback of Notre Dame, I think, is like the black sheep of the Disney. I would actually rank, this might get me a little contentious, I would actually rank it above The Lion King. I would actually rank it above The Lion King because I feel like it's aged like a fine wine, The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Obviously, it's not like the book. We're not going to talk about the Hunchback of Notre Dame book. We're not talking about the original book. But you don't like this movie? You don't like, what, you don't like the Hunchback of Notre Dame? You'd put it in D just for the animation? No. I think it's actually a really, really good film. I think it's a good film. It's surprisingly one of those films. Well, first off, the animation looks amazing. It's also probably one of the first times that like they really started pushing CGI in their films. And while some of it has not aged the best, like the CG crowds and stuff like that, the fact that it still looks as good as it does is impressive. The CGI backdrops and set design and scenery where like Quasimodo is climbing like freaking a jacked Spider-Man. Oh, you're talking about Pocahontas. Yep, no problem. Where Quasimodo's like a jacked Spider-Man swinging from scaffolding to scaffolding. It all looks so good. I love the fact that I actually really respect the hell out of the movie for almost not giving Quasimodo the happy ending that he wants. Not that I don't think he deserves a happy ending, and I got mixed feelings about the sequel, which is literally just give Quasimodo a girlfriend. I respect the hell out of the fact that, you know, he kind of spends a lot of the movie simping and doesn't get the girl. He actually needs to learn a lot of it sucks that, like, I don't think he needed to learn self-sacrifice, but I think it was a good step for his story, that it's like, hey, you're not always going to get the girl, but there are other ways for you to be happy. There are other ways for you to be accepted. And I like what's her name? Esmeralda? I like the guy that Esmeralda ends up with. I like the knight. He's kind of got like a good suave about him. He's got a lot of personality. He ends up being like a good bro to Quasimodo. You know, it's not like a cucking situation really. And yes, I'm beating around the bush. Frollo is hands down one of the best Disney villains of all time. I would argue one of the best animated villains of all time. And like I said, he is part of the reason why this movie has just aged so gracefully. The way that this man uses religion to justify his like twisted actions, and hellfire is legitimately hellfire. Actually, hold on. Let me look up the lyrics real quick. I really want to like get my moment for a second. Like fire, hellfire, this fire in my skin, this burning desire is turning me to sin. Oh, it's so good. And the scene with him like being infatuated with the fire silhouette where he's feeling the temptation. It's so good. Fuck. That's how you make a villain that's like equally complex and just straight up sinisterly evil. Pocahontas, I delved into the movie a bit more, being a Native American myself, just to figure out more of the history. The inaccuracies in portrayal make me upset. She was one of my first MMIW IRL. No, that's what makes it so upsetting, that there is an actual story to Pocahontas. And the fact that they kind of twisted it in order to, yes, basically be an Oscar bait movie, it was really like in poor taste. But yeah, Hunchback of Notre Dame, fucking love this movie. Hercules. Okay. Hercules, I am going to put up there. I would probably put Hercules just before Robin Hood, because Hercules is a film I've rewatched a lot. This is going to sound weird. I feel like Hercules is a movie that I've rewatched a lot and that I remember a lot of, but I don't think it sticks with me as much as I wish it did. I love Meg. I love Hades. I love the songs. There are songs in Hercules that I think are some of my favorite songs of all time. Zero to Hero, Go the Distance, some of my favorite Disney songs of all time. But then I think about it a little bit and I realize I don't really know much about Hercules as a character. Like, he's kind of a bit of a bland Boy Scout if you think about it. And I think I was having a conversation with a friend, and he mentioned how, like, Hercules just feels like Disney's version of Superman, like old school Boy Scout Superman. And I'm like, oh my God, you might be right. Which is funny because you could argue that Superman was heavily inspired by Hercules. So it's kind of funny how we come full circle. We'll need to send Jonathan Young music he did to help your statement. And I love Hades, and his actor loves to play him. He will do anything to play him again. Yeah, no, I respect the hell out of the fact that he came back to voice Hades in the Kingdom Hearts games when he was a big enough actor that he absolutely did not need to do that. Like, that was really, really cool. He's got like this sliminess about him. Like, he almost comes off more like a lawyer than like a supervillain. I know, kind of an oxymoron, right? But I like that. He's a very like different, impersonal type of Disney villain, and I love him. I think Hercules himself actually holds the film back a little bit. I don't think there's really that much that sticks with me. It feels like a very commercialized movie. And don't get me wrong, I like the movie. I think, and if it wasn't for Hercules, we wouldn't have like the next film that some of the next films that are coming up. But yeah, I wouldn't rank it particularly. Actually, looking at it again on this perspective, I think I would put Robin Hood kind of down here. And then maybe put Hercules here. I think this is a better like ranking in terms of like how I felt about these movies and everything. I think this makes more sense. He's gonna play Hades in the live action remake? Okay. That's kind of bars. But then again, like, I wonder if that's just leaning a bit more into the nostalgia baiting for the film and everything. I don't know. I got mixed feelings on this upcoming Hercules movie. Mulan. Ooh. Ooh. Hoo, 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 hoo. I'll put you right behind The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Or actually, ooh, this is tough. This is actually really tough. What do I rank higher? The Hunchback of Notre Dame or Mulan? I feel like Mulan is more of like a cultural icon at this point. Like, you don't fuck with Mulan, you know? Or like, if someone says they don't like Mulan, you kind of need to side-eye that. There are some reasons to like dislike Mulan, like its historical accuracy. I've seen videos breaking down like how accurate as a Chinese film Mulan is. But even the people that point out those inaccuracies are still like, no, but it's still a good film. Like, it's kind of one of those movies that might not get everything right, but you can tell there was a passion to respect what was being done in the movie, you know? And again, it also has some of my favorite songs in all of Disney, like When Will My Reflection Show? And do I even have to bring up I'll Make a Man Out of You? The slapstick is really funny. The pacing, I think, is so tight. I think it's such a really, really tightly written and presented film. I think the biggest knock against the film is the villain. What's his name? Shao Kahn? The Han. He's kind of a nothing villain. He's got a nice design. That's about it. He doesn't talk that. I think he's only got like 5 lines in the entire movie. He doesn't really, I mean, he does a lot of horrible things, but they're all off screen, you know? I think if they leaned into the brutality of him a bit more, or they showcased the brutality of him a bit more, and I know why they didn't. Still a Disney movie. But I think if the villain was a little bit stronger, I think I would put it over Hunchback. I think this is a solid place to put it for right now. Tarzan! I love this movie. I don't love it as much as all of these other ones. I think the Phil Collins music is good, if a little intrusive at times. I mean, there's some of my favorite songs by Phil Collins. I just dropped something. There's some of my favorite songs by Phil Collins, but it is a question of, and I know there is like a big debate over whether or not the Phil Collins songs add or take away from the movie, because a lot of the music is just telling you how to feel about what is happening in the scene. And I wonder how good Tarzan would be with a different soundtrack. I only bring up Phil Collins because that is hands down some of the most memorable things about the movie. But I love the animation. This was during a time where Disney was really, really pushing their CGI backgrounds. And actually, if it wasn't for Tarzan, we would not have one of my favorite Disney animated movies of all time. Because the technology that was spearheaded with Tarzan ended up leading to the animation style and presentation of Treasure Planet. So it's really, really hard to like not at the very least respect the hell out of this movie. But I think it is a good film. I think it is a solid adaptation of the Tarzan story. I think Tarzan and Jane have like great chemistry together. I like the slow buildup of their relationship. When at the end of the movie, when she's debating on staying with Tarzan and her father is like, go to him. He's like, no, I need to be with people, and I need to be with people in society. And she's like, and he's like, but you love him. I felt that. I felt their relationship. I felt like the kind of twisted tragedy of it. And I felt so bad that like Tarzan, like, I think this is a perfect film that exemplifies like feeling like you don't belong. I think it's one of the strongest. A lot of movies that we're going over have this prevailing message of, I don't belong here, I want something more. I think Tarzan is a story about feeling out of place and just wanting something normal and wanting something simple. He's a very simple character, I think, in the best way. And actually, the more I talk about it, the more I think, you know what, I'm gonna put it above The Lion King. I like it a lot. I really like it a lot. Why lag? I don't see any lag. I don't see any lag. My connection has not dropped below excellent. There might be like an occasional moment of buffering, but we are not lagging. So that's where I'm gonna put Tarzan. And I complain about the Phil Collins songs, but again, I do think they are some of the best songs that he has written, and they are certified bops. Fantasia 2000. Good. Not as good as the other Fantasia movie. Honestly, I'll probably put it like here, behind The Little Mermaid. It's okay. I don't think the animated sequences are as strong as the original Fantasia, if I'm being honest. There's definitely less iconic stuff. Also the pacing and presentation, like with some of the live action actors, it's a little bit awkward. The pacing feels a little bit weird. It feels more like they just had a lot of leftover animated segments that they tried to make a movie out of, rather than there being like this big bombastic push to do something crazy with it. It's okay. Yeah, it's very firmly in the okay category. Dinosaurs. I fucking hate this movie. I hate this movie. Even when I saw this movie as a kid, I'm like, this movie is ugly. This movie is boring. I hate the humor in it. I don't like how like some of the characters, I don't think any of the characters have like good chemistry with each other. And I think all the actors either were going way too hard or sounded bored out of their goddamn minds. So no, genuinely, I say this with my full chest, I think Dinosaurs is one of the worst Disney movies. Like, at least I can appreciate the animation and like some funny moments in The Black Cauldron and The Sword of the Stone, even though I think those movies are mostly boring. Dinosaur, I can't think of a single good thing about this film. I can't. Other than the fact that I guess it was ambitious, that it was like, I think this was Disney's first fully CGI movie, and there's a reason why it took a while for them to try again. It took a while for them to try again. It's such an ugly movie. Oh my God, I hate looking at it. I hate looking at this poster. It's such a god-awful movie. I hate it so much. Soundtrack is okay, but I don't even think that's enough to remotely give it points. Emperor's New Groove. So Emperor's New Groove is interesting because this movie went through so many fucking rewrites. It's impressive that the movie turned out as good as it did. It is probably the first pure comedy that Disney had put out in a while. And honestly, I think it is probably one of the best comedies that Disney has ever put out. It is a classic, predictable buddy road trip movie, but the pacing of it, the voice acting, rest in peace, Yzma's voice actress, for having she has such a distinct voice. Oh, that was fun fact. The actress that played Yzma was not only the old Madame Zeroni in the Holes movies, but she was also the original Catwoman from Adam West Batman. Oh, God bless my queen. She is my queen. She is the GOAT. I think this movie is worth watching just for her. It'd be cool if her and Krunk's dynamic, beautiful. I would have liked it if the movie had a bit more of an emotional core to it, honestly. Because I still think Kuzco, like, he has his arc, but I never thought Kuzco was likable. I mean, you have your likable assholes like Dr. Horrible, but I don't think Kuzco ever crossed the line into being like a likable asshole, you know? But like Krunk, oh, and Pacha is a little bit too much of a straight man. I hit my mic. He's a little too much of a straight man to the point where he kind of runs the risk of being a bit boring. But overall, I love the comedy in this movie. I love the pacing. I love the tight writing. It's like, even they take the piss out of themselves. And I love a movie that doesn't take itself too seriously. Great movie. Definitely up there. I can see why people call it like an S-rank movie. It's not for me personally, but it is up there. Atlantis: The Lost Empire. So this is interesting. I think this is a really good movie. I don't think it's an amazing movie. It's the kind of movie that I think I appreciated more when I first watched it than I do when I rewatch it. Because this film felt like Disney was trying to do something really mature and really out there, but they just couldn't hold themselves back from like leaning onto a lot of the Disney tropes, like the quirky side character, saving the princess, having like a white guy obsessed with money be the villain. And it's like, guys, you have such a good inventive setup here. You have such good technology designs. You have so much good lore you can lean into, but it feels a little disjointed, if I'm being honest. I will definitely rewatch this movie over and over again. And Kira is one of my crushes growing up. One of my dark-skinned queens. I love her, but honestly, I'm actually gonna put it like here. I don't feel as much for the movie as I wish I could. It does feel like there's a lot of things happening in the movie, but I don't think there's a lot that sticks with me. It's not as funny as I would like it to be. It's not as witty as I would like it to be. For a movie that's like advertising itself as kind of a more mature Disney movie, it also doesn't feel as mature as I would like it to be. There are moments of maturity, like showing blood, and I think there's a dam thrown in there. But I feel like it needed maybe one more rewrite. I think if it was allowed to be the mature action movie that I think it wanted to be, then I think I would rank it higher. I love it, but I just don't rank it super highly. I'll put it above Cinderella. I'll put it above Fantasia too. That's a little mean, putting it behind Fantasia 2000. Lilo and Stitch. Easy. S tier. I like this movie for the reasons that I don't think Disney wanted us to like this movie for. Because I think Disney really wanted us to like this movie just for Stitch. Like, hey guys, look at the quirky mascot character that you can buy a bunch of plushies for. Buy it. I think Stitch is a cute character. I think the arc that Stitch goes through is good, but that's not why I love this movie. I love this movie because of Lilo and her sister's dynamic. I love this movie because it's probably one of the most genuine, unapologetic, broken family stories that I think Disney has ever put out. And it's so funny because I almost don't think Disney wants you to pay attention to that, despite it being such a big aspect of the movie. This is why I'm fucking terrified of the live action. I'm terrified of the live action because I almost feel like they're going to downplay the tragedy of these sisters. These sisters that like love each other but hate each other at the same time. Nani is the freaking GOAT for trying to juggle so much. As an older sibling myself, I respect the hell out of her. And it's like, damn, I want more of that dynamic. I want to find out more about the parents. I want to find out more about how they're able to like keep this broken family together, and Stitch throwing a wrench in that, and them getting angry at Stitch. Like that moment where it's like everything fell apart because of you, because you got to admit there is a good chance that they would have been able to get by if Stitch never showed up. But Stitch did make everything worse. And you feel it. It's such a good movie. I'll put it above the original Fantasia. It's such a good movie. Like that dynamic alone, like the aliens are cute. The aliens and the jokes are funny. It's got a lot of heart. The animation and the CGI, I would say, is like the best that it's looked since once we get to this era. I love the cell shading. I think this is around the time they started experimenting with more cell shading CGI, and it still looks really good and holds up today. But man, Nani and Lilo as characters, some of the best. Genuinely some of the best. Moving on. Oh yeah, here it is. The GOAT. The GOAT. Treasure Planet. One of my favorite animated movies of all time. One of my favorite Disney movies of all time. Honestly, like, these are pretty interchangeable. I will go back and forth on them. I love Treasure Planet. I love its look. I love its design. Its characters, aside from maybe like one, are so likable and complex in a simple way. I know that's an oxymoron, but I don't give a shit. It's my tier list. Fuck you. I love this movie so much. It was such an innovation for its time. And I hate, to this day, that's me hitting my table. I hate the fact that Disney basically set up this movie to fail. There's this beautiful, like, 4-hour, there's like this beautiful 2 to 4 hour video, going into like the development of this movie. How fucking hard the directors had to fight the previous CEO to get the movie made. And like, they got the movie made, and then management changed. And then these two movies were basically competing with each other. And it fucking sucked, because you could tell that Disney really wanted Lilo and Stitch to be their next flagship at the time. And Treasure Planet was basically set up to fail. And it makes me so mad. Ugh. I'm glad that it has this cult classic status now, but damn. I wish there could have been like a whole extended universe with this film. And it pisses me off that we were denied that. It could have been great. It could have been great. But goated movie. Love this movie. Will die on the hill of how much I love this movie. So good. Brother Bear. It's okay. It's okay. The brotherly bond is cute, and the mooses are sometimes funny. See how I'm struggling to come up with something to say about this film? Actually, I'll put it behind Lady and the Tramp, because at least I remember a lot of Lady and the Tramp. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I got nothing like terrible to say about it. I'm not sure how insensitive it is with the native depictions in it. And the brotherly bond, it's a very predictable movie. You know exactly where it's going to go. But there wasn't, it has heart. I don't want to like rag on it too much. It's fine. It's fine. I'll put it there. I actually think the sequel is a little bit better, surprisingly. I remember liking the sequel, the direct-to-DVD sequel, a little bit more. Home on the Range. Yeah. I mean, does anyone like love this movie? It's not boring, but it's not good. It's just kind of nonsense. Like, some of the songs are okay. This is the kind of movie I look at it and I just ask myself, why were you made? Like who wanted to make you? Who was this movie made for? Like, what were the metrics? Who was in the room and thinking, guys, talking farm animals throwing a party? It's like, okay, that's it. That's the movie. I'm like, you know what? This feels like a movie that should have came out before the Disney Renaissance. I keep forgetting that it came out after the Disney Renaissance. I don't know why. It feels like a script that was written back then and they just really needed to get a movie out this week. So it's like, let's just animate this old thing. Yeah, that's it. I don't have any particularly strong feelings about it. Chicken Little. I hate this movie. I hate this movie. I really don't like this movie. I don't like the CGI in it. I think it looks very, very ugly. Where's the Goofy movie? We're only discussing theatrically released animated movies. And Goofy movie, believe it or not, was a direct-to-video. It was like I think it was like a Disney Channel movie. It was not. Let me double check. Actually, was it released in theaters? The Goofy movie. A Goofy movie. Produced by Disney, directed blah, 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 blah. Based on its sort of standalone follow-up, taking place 3 years after the events. Misguided across the United States. Production, music. Within Disney prior. It was made by Katzenberg. Company saw a release as the fulfilling contractual obligations. Okay, it was originally scheduled to be released in theaters, but due to production setbacks, the film's world premiere took place at the AMC Theater. Oh, it did get a theatrical release. Why did I think it didn't? That's so strange. Oh, it had a limited theatrical release. That's why. That's why. Okay. Okay. That's why. I don't know why I thought it was a strictly direct-to-DVD movie. All right. I'm going to add this. I'm going to add this to the poll. Sorry about that. Let's add that. Okay. I freaking hate this. Yeah, but yeah, I hate this movie. I hate Chicken Little. I don't like the style. I don't like the main character. I think I don't like his voice. I feel bad for him, where it's like, it is basically the ugly duckling story. It is basically the, like, it almost comes off as like, I don't want to say, it almost comes off as like a racist or albiest movie. It just very much comes, it's a very mean-spirited movie. It's a super mean-spirited movie. And I don't think there's enough heart in it to make up for all of the mean-spiritedness. I mean, there's a legit scene where the dad freaking turns his back on his kid. And I'm like, dude. And I don't think he ever really recovers from it. So I freaking hate this movie. Like, I'll put it behind Home on the... Actually, no. I'll put it just before Dinosaurs. Because, like, Pocahontas, I hate it, but it's, like, carried by the animation. But it's, like, very much carried by the animation. Actually, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to put Pocahontas back here. Because now we're starting to get into, like, the specifics of everything. Sword in the Stone, Black Cauldron, they're boring, but like they have like 1 or 2 segments that are like, okay, that was kind of cute. Home on the Range, okay, you're nonsense, but it like, I can kind of look at you in a film that maybe came out 10 years too late kind of way. Chicken Little, it's not as ugly as Dinosaurs, it's not as boring as Dinosaurs, but it's more mean-spirited than Dinosaurs. It puts me in a worse mood than Dinosaurs. I just don't like it. And we'll come back here for a little bit. Nightmare Before Christmas. Nightmare Before Christmas, I think, is a really good movie. I'm gonna put it over here, though. I actually rewatched Nightmare Before Christmas last year, and I think it's a gorgeous animated movie with amazing music. Yes, Pocahontas is put in F because problematic. It's not a very good story. I don't like any of the characters. They're either really bland or made in like a very insensitive way. I don't buy the romance in it. Literally, it's just... If it wasn't for the fact that it's probably one of the most gorgeous 2D animated films Disney has ever put out, that's the only thing stopping it from like me putting it at the bottom of the bottom. But yeah, Nightmare Before Christmas, I actually love this. I do like this movie and I respect the hell out of it. I've actually cosplayed as Jack a couple of times. The makeup was atrocious. I think it is a really good movie and I do think it should be watched like every year. I don't think it sticks with me as much as I think it's supposed to. And I don't know, I go back and forth on whether or not it's the movie or whether or not it's me, because Jack's whole journey in the movie is very, very weird. It's kind of a thing where it's like, he gets overly ambitious about something, he's kind of the villain for the movie, if you think about it. And I don't really think that... There's a part of me that feels like he doesn't get punished enough for really fucking up a lot of stuff in the movie. If that makes sense. Like, I feel like they introduced Oogie Boogie as like a hands down worse person just to make Jack look better by comparison and like have him kind of save the day. I just know all the emo girls had Nightmare Before Christmas and Vader Zimmer. No, I do think that it is iconic. I do think, actually, I'll put it in like the upper B tier because I do think it is iconic in the sense of we wouldn't have Hot Topic if it wasn't for Nightmare Before Christmas. And I will always respect the hell out of, if there's one thing I can respect the Nightmare Before Christmas about, it's that if it wasn't for the Nightmare Before Christmas, we probably wouldn't have Hot Topic or Spencer's. And I wouldn't have 30% of my fashion sense. So... it at least has that going for it. But outside of that, it's okay. He did get shot out of the sky, but like, I don't know. I don't feel like he was fine. That doesn't feel like as much, I know that sounds weird, but that also doesn't feel like as much of a consequence of what happened in the film, you know? It very much feels like more should have been talked about with Jack, or more should have been reflected with Jack, or maybe more of a conversation between him and Santa about like, hey, like the message was kind of stay in your lane if you think about it. But I would have liked a more nuanced message for the film. I know the actual message is more like, Jack, you got too ambitious. You kind of need to kind of like see the forest for the trees, be more aware of the ambition for, like, don't let your ambition make you the villain of the story, basically. Because that's kind of what happened. But I also understand where Jack was coming from, where it was like, he was kind of tired of the same old, same old. Jack was basically what would happen if a Disney princess became the villain of a movie. Is that fair to say? Because think about it. he starts the film yearning for more, just like a lot of other Disney villains. He kind of starts the film yearning for more, like a lot of other Disney princesses. It's just he ends up coming across the means of achieving more by means of locking up other people instead of being the one that gets locked up. I don't know. I think that's an interesting point that I just kind of brought up. Maybe we should delve into that a little bit more in the future. But similar to how like some people are frustrated with Disney princesses, where it's like, oh, I don't know if they really learned their lesson, or I don't really know if like the plot of the movie went in tandem for the character. I don't really know if the plot of the movie went in tandem with the character arc they were supposed to have. That's kind of how I feel about Jack. Far from a bad movie. Definitely an iconic movie, and I will definitely be rewatching it every other year, like I said. But I don't know. I feel like it's not as perfect as a lot of people make it out to be. Frankenweenie, I actually think, is a more solid film overall. Like the theme of letting go and kind of like dealing with the consequences of your actions. And it's a creatively dark, humored film. It's a solid film. I would say it's probably not the strongest stop motion animated film. I actually like Paranorman better. I think Paranorman is probably one of the best stop action animated movies. Like above Nightmare Before Christmas, above Corpse Bride. I would put Paranorman on the same level as like, say, Coraline. I would say they both kind of edge each other out just a little bit. I'll put Frankenweenie. I'll put it like here. It's a solid movie. It's a solid movie, but it kind of runs into that issue where it's like, I don't feel a lot of emotional connection to it. Actually, yeah, I don't feel a lot of emotional connection to it. I keep forgetting that, like, I keep thinking that Coraline is a Disney movie, and it's not. Can we delete this? And we'll like get rid of it later. A Goofy movie. I freaking love this movie. It had no business being as good as it was. It's such a good dramatic movie. And that feels so weird to say about freaking a Goofy movie. It's so good. All right. It's like not, it's like gorgeously animated. The music goes so fucking hard. All right. Like, guys, I want to put a Powerline. I cannot tell you how badly I want to put a Powerline cosplay on my throne. And then I swear to God, if any of you fund it, I will personally record a video doing the song and dance for you. It's such a good fucking movie. I love this movie with like all my heart. In fact, it's probably the film on this list that has some of the most heart in it. It's so good. We gotta watch this movie in the Discord. We gotta watch this movie in the community Discord. How much is it? That's a good question. Yeah, let me look up. Let me look it up. Amazon Power Line cosplay. Let's see if we include the wig. Wow. That's actually not as expensive as I thought it was going to be. If we include the wig, because the wig and like the bodysuit, it's a bodysuit, are kind of sold separately. Holy shit, I could order both of these and get them in time. Okay, maybe not in time, but I could get them almost in time for my convention next week. It's about $80. It's about $80 for like the wig and the suit. It's about $80. That's really not that bad at all. It's really, that's kind of, for a bodysuit wig combo, it's kind of a steal, honestly. If we listen to each other's heart, we'll find we'll never cheat and fall apart. And maybe love is the reason why, for the first time ever, we're seeing it eye to eye, yeah. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I love this film so much. Yeah, I'll aim to put that on my throne. During the next couple of days, I'm gonna have like a solid 2 hours where I'm just gonna add things to my throne. So look forward to that, I guess. Meet the Robinsons. I think Meet the Robinsons is a very underrated film. I don't think it looks that great. The perfect cast. I don't think Meet the Robinsons. I don't think it looks great. I don't like its character designs. I think they're a little like too, they almost look unfinished. Some of them do. It's still, I feel like Disney was still trying to figure out textures at this time, because some of the character designs I do not think hold up well at all. They're a little too like angular and vectory. Their hair kind of looks like it merges with their skin, like Simpsons characters a little bit. But the message, but it's a very creative movie. When I was young, fun fact, when I was young, I really wanted to be an inventor. And I think this movie actually contributed to that. And I think that this movie also contributed to like me being a mechanic and that you see today. I think it is very underrated. I love its message at the end. I think the message of keep moving forward is a solid message that I don't think enough films like kind of teach kids. And I think the ending sequence at the very end where he gets his happy ending and we start to see the beginning of him turning into the person that he wants to be, I think that's amazing. I think it's a really solid and emotional ending. I think it's a really good movie. Definitely an underrated one. I will put it, I'll put it above Robin Hood. I'll put it above Robin Hood because while I do think the animation holds it back, I will always take heart over presentation. And I do think this film does have a lot of heart. God, we're not even at the Pixar movies yet. Damn. Bolt. It's okay. It's okay. I really don't think there's anything like to say about Bolt. It's okay. Princess and the Frog. One of the last 2D animated films ever. It is one of my favorites. I wish it had just a few more songs. Hey Bolt, is the Valiant and the Wild. I have the Valiant and the Wild. The Valiant and the Wild. I don't. No, it's not on this list. Bolt, if we invent anything, must be kept between friends. Oh, yeah, I could see what you might want to, what you want to make. Valiant in the Wild was, I don't think this was a Disney movie. Was it? Was this a Disney movie? It doesn't. Oh, it was a Disney movie. Oh, I never watched this movie, so I actually can't say anything about it. I'm sorry. Oh. This movie and The Wild, I actually did not watch. I forgot those were Disney movies. They look ugly as sin, though. So okay, we're gonna skip those movies. But yeah, Princess and the Frog. The second to last, there was a lot of. I feel like it was unfair that there was a lot of stake put into this movie, and it really is a shame. It really is a shame because I do feel like This movie did perform well. It was a good movie, but it just didn't perform as well as Disney wanted it to. They were banking, I think it's unfair that they were banking too much on this movie. I appreciate the risks that they put with it, and I like a lot of the music, and I do think it does a lot of things right. But personally, I think it's a fantastic movie. But I can see why a lot of people don't rank it particularly as high. Tangled. Tangled. I like Tangled. I think I actually like Tangled a bit. It's weird. I think I like Tangled a bit more than, like, say, Frozen 2. But I also think I like the animated series of Tangled more than the movie. It's okay. I'll put it behind Pinocchio. I think it's okay. I think it's got heart. I don't think the music is that good. I don't think there are legitimately any, like, aside from Mother Knows Best. Ooh, actually, now that I think about, like, with the villain, there were some, like, really good things about this film. I think I want to put Pinocchio above Hercules. And I think I want to put Tangled up here. I think I want to put it above Night Before Christmas. I think it, like, just falls short of being like these are Disney movies that I can watch any time of any day. But Tangled, I think, is just shy of that. I think it's just shy of that. Same thing with the last 2D animated movie. God, that it sucks that this is the last 2D animated movie, which sucks because I think this movie is, like, legitimately better than the first Winnie the Pooh movie because it is actually, like, really funny and really expressive. But yeah, it still suffers in the same way that it's not quite a movie. And the fact that it was the last 2D animated movie that Disney ever put out, it kind of sours it a little bit. It has, like, this bittersweet quality about it. I do rank it high. But not, like, as high. I'll put it right above Robin Hood. Actually, I'll put Robin Hood behind 101 Dalmatians. The more I think about, like, other movies, the more I kind of switch them around a little bit. Now we're getting into the CG animated movies, like the Disney CG animated movies and the Pixar movies. So, Wreck-It Ralph. I think Wreck-It Ralph is a really, really good, solid movie with probably one of the better Disney twists that I've seen. It's ruined by its sequel. It is unfortunately ruined by its sequel, but I do think it's a really, really good movie with a good message. Actually, yeah, I'll put it higher. I'll put it in A tier. I like the video game references. I like the retro references and callbacks. I think the message is actually really, really good and solid. I'll put it, I think this is a solid place to put it. Frozen. I actually do really like Frozen. I do think the comedy is really good. I do think the jokes are really good. I still think it holds up today, and say what you want about Let It Go being one of the most overrated things on the planet, it's still a good song. It's still a good song. So yeah, I would definitely put Frozen. I'll put it above Emperor's New Groove. I think it's a solid place. Big Hero 6. I like Big Hero 6. I think it's just okay. I think it's just okay. I actually do want to check out, like, the animated series. I do want to check out the animated series. Apparently the cartoon series based off of the movie is done by the same people who made Kim Possible. So I do want to watch the show and see how that holds up. But I think it's just okay. It's a very expensive theatrical pilot, is what it is. And that is the most I can say about it. Zootopia. I like Zootopia. I wish its theming a little... What? Why are you there? I don't know why you were there. Why is the spinny ball thing there? Oh, my friend's reactive is up. Okay, took it down. Cool. Yeah, Zootopia 2 is coming. I am very curious about the sequel. I actually do really like Zootopia. I think my problem with it is where did I put it? I think my problem with it is I'm actually going to put Big Hero 6 lower. Yeah, I think that's a better place. I really like Zootopia. And I would Judy too. Fun fact, I actually did voice in NSFW Zootopia comic a couple weeks ago. I played Nick. Hey, what's up, carrots? It's called A Hustle, sweetheart. I think my inflections and tones are very similar to Nick. I love Nick as a character. I think the like message is a little bit muddled. I think it was like the first movie that kind of had this issue with like trying to equate like racism and stuff like and like heavier issues to child-friendly coded stuff. Like predators and prey being an allegory for racism, and it's like, okay, who is who exactly? But like the animation's nice, the character designs are really nice. I do really like the mystery angle for it. I'm very curious about what they do with the sequel. I'll put it here, behind Atlantis. Moana I actually really like. I have no fucking idea what they're going to do for the sequel. I think the thing that holds Moana back a little bit, and I love the music, I love the animation, I actually do like The Rock in it as well. I think the thing that holds Moana back is there's this like glaring thing about the plot that pisses me off. I don't know what was stopping the water from just grabbing Moana and throwing her to the island to return the heart. I don't understand why she needed to build a boat. I don't understand why she needed to meet up with Maui. I don't understand it all. I don't get it. It's a glaring... Even if people want to be like, oh, but then like she wouldn't have been able to like learn how to sail or go on this journey, and Maui probably wouldn't have like grown as a character. I'm like, okay, that is consequence over plot. I don't like that. I like when the two come together. Just because that feels like you wanted things to work out a specific way and then worked in reverse. Or just say that in the movie. Say the water can't take somebody directly to the heart. Or like maybe make the water's influence a bit more like limiting. But I didn't feel that. So yeah, didn't really like it. Wreck-It Ralph 2, one of the worst Disney sequels of all time. One of the worst Disney sequels of all time. One that completely misses the point of what the original message was. Kind of leans into almost problematic territory a little bit, and way to ruin your main character, guys, am I right? I understand what they were going for. I don't think the message is bad, but I feel like they had to fundamentally ruin things that I liked about the first one in order to get to that point. It definitely feels like a sequel that was never meant to happen, and then they were forced to make it work, and it's only held together by like influencers and Disney Easter eggs and all this other stuff. I don't like it. Frozen 2. It's okay. It's okay. I feel like Disney 2 suffers a little bit from trying really, really hard to recapture that lightning in a bottle that they did with Frozen 1. And they try. I think the performances are great. I think the lore is interesting. And I'm curious what they're going to build on top of it with Frozen 3. It just doesn't really stick with me as much. There isn't really a lot of like emotional stuff that sticks with me. I'm impressed that it came out as well as it did for a movie that definitely did not have a plot until like a year before the movie came out. Because they had a lot of concepts and images and videos for things that were showcased in the movie, but they did not, at the time, it was very much like they came up with these cool things to showcase without really having a story to accompany them. So it's impressive that it came out as well as it did. Raya was not a good movie. Raya could have been a good movie if they didn't shove Aquafina Dragon in it and didn't make it so culturally confusing. And they didn't make it so culturally Asian confusing. It's like, oh, like what Asian demographic is this movie trying to appeal to? All of them? That's basically what Raya was. Yeah, did not like it. Did not like it at all. Encanto, I actually genuinely love. Encanto is probably actually up there as one of my favorite Disney movies. I've rewatched this movie. The year this movie came out, I probably watched it like 5 times. I love the music. I think it's some of Lin-Manuel Miranda's best work. I love the plot. I love Mirabel. I like as a Latino myself, as a Puerto Rican, I resonate very hard with its message about generational trauma. I like how this movie arguably started the generational trauma train. So, like, I love it. Shut up, I love her. Who are you talking about, Mirabel? I said I love Mirabel. Strange World was actually a pretty good movie. I like Strange World. I would say it was the best okay Disney movie I've watched in the past couple of years. Wish. Oof. And this is the thanks I get. And this is the thanks I get. Look out, world, here I are. You know, there's a reason why there's a lot of rumors that this movie was made with AI. I do not like this movie. I actually watched it with my kids at school for the first time in full. And I was like, you know what? I hear a lot of shit about this movie. I've seen like the songs and I don't think a lot of the songs are good, but like, let me actually watch the movie improper and like get a better idea of, oh, Awkwafina, I don't like her. I've become very jaded on Awkwafina as like an actress and as a performer. And I actually think, her like presence and attitude in the movie takes away from a lot of the tragedy and like edge that I think the movie is supposed to have. So yeah, no, I do not like Awkwafina Dragon. Wish. Yeah, when I watched the film properly in context, it's like, nope, this movie is about as bad as everyone said it was. The villain is just evil for the sake of being evil, but not in like an endearing way or a charismatic way. The songs feel very off. The songwriting, it feels very lyrically off. Like nothing kind of jives very well with this movie, from its plotting to its performances. And I feel like it could have worked as an interesting story. You read the concepts, the early concepts for this movie, and they're fantastic. I think it would have, I can't guarantee it would have been a good movie, but I do think it would have been a better movie. And now finally we're getting to the Pixar stuff. Toy Story. I think the original Toy Story holds up tremendously well. I think original Toy Story holds up tremendously well. I'm just gonna do all the Toy Stories together. I think Toy Story 2 is one of the best out there. One of my favorite Pixar movies of all time. And where are you? And Toy Story 3. I know a lot of people go back and forth on Toy Story 3, like being a good movie. I think it holds up. I think it holds up very, very well. I will put this a bit higher. Put in front of Bambi. Yeah. These are like practically the same movie in my eyes, like back to back. Like I grew up with these movies. I was Andy's age going to college when the third movie came out. Like These movies were made for me, and I will always treasure them. Which is why I've got very mixed feelings about 4 and whatever the hell is happening with the upcoming film with 5. At best, I think 4 is a solid epilogue. I think it goes on a little bit too long. I think if they wanted to make an epilogue movie, they could have made an epilogue short film. Not a long 2-hour movie. And now that it's implied Woody is coming back for 5, this might rank lower because it could just mean that everything gets invalidated at the end. And I hate that. So that's all of the Toy Story movies. A Bug's Life. I think A Bug's Life is cute. I think it's a very cute, it's a very solid early Pixar movie. Monsters Inc. I actually fuck with Monsters Inc. a lot more than I thought I would. The stuff with like Boo, it fluctuates back and forth between grating on me and being like legitimately like cute. And the ending still kind of gets to me. But I do think it's a very, very like good, solid film. Finding Nemo. Okay, I'm gonna probably piss a lot of people off. I think Finding Nemo is just okay. I think it's just okay. Outside of the opening segment, I don't think it emotionally hits, and I don't think there's as much that sticks with me years later as other Pixar movies. I'm probably gonna get the chair for this. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, it's my favorite Disney movie. I'm sorry. That is like just where I'm coming from with this. I'm glad you like it, and I hope you stick with it. I don't think Finding Dory is that much better, but I do think Finding Dory is a bit better. I do think it's a bit better. Oh, and speaking of Monsters Inc., I'm probably gonna like group a lot of the sequel movies and stuff together. Monsters University. I actually would put it on the same level as the original Monsters Inc. I like the message in Monsters University better than a lot of messages in a lot of these films, because the message being, hey, maybe you're not cut out for this, and it's very real about that. I actually fuck with that message a lot. Sometimes you're not meant to be where you want to be, and I do fuck with that message a lot. So I really, really respect this film. It just sucks that it's all kind of wrapped up in what is ostensibly in a G-rated American Pie. That's it. It's a G-rated American Pie with a really good message at the end. Actually, I'll probably put Meet the Robinsons over both of these, but I'll pretty much lump these two together. The Incredibles and Incredibles 2. So I was actually having an interesting conversation with my friend about this, about The Incredibles. I do think Incredibles is an amazing film that still holds up tremendously well. Tremendously well. I think a good way of looking at The Incredibles is I think the tagline for The Incredibles is, it's the first mature Disney movie you've watched. I think that's a good way of looking at it. It's the first mature Disney movie you were allowed to watch. Because there's death, there's guns, there's implied affairs, there's a lot of like cheeky adult humor and cheeky adult stuff that happens in the film. And I like that. I don't think it hits as much when you're an adult. And the animation, I don't think has aged the best, but I love its style. I love Brad Bird. I don't think Brad Bird has put out like a bad movie, or like I haven't seen a bad movie from Brad Bird. For those who don't know, Brad Bird is the person who made like The Incredibles and Iron Giant. He's got like a very distinct kind of like hand-drawn style that I think translates beautifully to CGI. He's also a very funny voice actor because he plays Edna Mode, and I think it's good. Incredibles 2, I don't hate Incredibles 2 as much as everybody else. I just think it's okay. I think it's just okay. Yeah. I think it's just okay. I'm a little confused about what the message. Whoops, I'm a little confused about what the message of Incredibles 2 is supposed to be. Like, is it supposed to be that we don't need superheroes? Is it supposed to be that heroes are holding people back? Like, I'm not sure if the movies are sure on whether or not the villains they make for these movies are supposed to have a point. So, little up in the air on that. Little jury's out on that one. But, I like it better than most. I don't think it's a blight on the franchise like some people make it out to be. Cars, Cars 2, and Cars 3. I'm not really breaking the mold here, guys. These are not great movies. I'll say Cars 2 is probably somewhere around here. It's not boring, but it's not interesting. I kind of put Cars 1 and 3 like here. They're just not interesting movies. I'll respect Cars 3 for trying to be more like a real movie. And I do like the message of Cars 3. But it's such a long slog, boring movie to get to that point. It's not interesting. It's not creative. It's like they had one idea of what if we had Lightning McQueen crash and like get horribly eviscerated. But then they backpedal that a bit and it's like, yeah, it's fine. Ratatouille. I like Ratatouille. I think Ratatouille is also kind of in the just okay category. If it wasn't for the critic, I think I wouldn't be ranking this movie as high. I think the critic definitely elevates the movie. The critic scene at the end definitely elevates the movie higher. But aside from that, it's okay. I love the architecture. I love the scenery. I don't think Linguini's voice actor is good, like at all. And in a lot of ways, like after you've watched Ratatouille, it feels like you're kind of watching it and waiting to get to the good scenes instead of the whole film just being like legitimately great on its own. WALL-E, peak. WALL-E is peak. Probably gonna put it right around there. While I'm definitely hungry too, I think that's why I'm kind of speeding along and lumping a lot of these movies together, because I really do want to get food. But we're almost done. WALL-E is peak. I feel like the film would be perfect if it was just the first half of the film. If it was just this silent movie with WALL-E and Eve, I think it would be perfect. The second half of the movie is good, and heavy commentary aside, I just don't think it's very good and creative and has some amazing set pieces. The image of WALL-E skating through the stars is to this day still amazing. And I love the romance between WALL-E and Eve. It's tricky, but I'll put it here. Okay, people are probably gonna hate me for this. I don't think the rest of Up is as good as those first 10 minutes. I think it peaks early, and the rest of the movie is just okay. I think it peaks early, and the rest of the movie is just okay. I'll put it above Cinderella. Those first 10 minutes are amazing, and I think worth it being a good movie almost on its own, because the rest of the movie is fine. It's just, man, it's just not as good. It's just not as good. Brave. It's okay. I think Brave is okay. The relationship between the main character and her mom is interesting and unique, but I just feel like not a lot happens in the film outside of that. You take out like, there's still a lot of movie that focuses on things that I don't care about in the film. Like, and there's a lot of build up before we actually get to the engaging stuff. Before we get to the actual engaging stuff with the mom and the daughter. Also, the plot is kind of dumb. So it's okay. Bolts, you count Spies in Disguise, Ron's Gone Wrong, and the Bob's Burgers movie on the list. All three were published after Disney got Fox. Kind of. I don't think I'm gonna go through. I don't think I'll be able to. Well, we'll add Spies and Spies in Disguise definitely feels like a Fox movie. We won't add the Bob's Burgers movie, but we will add Spies in Disguise and Ron's Gone Wrong, because I have watched those movies. Inside Out, I actually think is a really good movie. The funny thing about Inside Out is that I feel like if you just had the scenes with Riley without all the inside your head stuff, I think it would still be a really good, solid short film. Good Dinosaur. I knew The Good Dinosaur was going to be in the same tier as Cars. The question was it going to be better or worse than Cars? I think I'd rather watch Cars than The Good Dinosaur. It's not a good movie. I'll put Raya ahead of Bolt, but that's not saying a lot. Coco is a really good movie. I love Coco. I love the music in Coco. I love the design in Coco. I will actually put Coco up here. I'll put it behind Fantasia, and I'll move Encanto over here. Coco is a similar case of when this movie came out, I watched it a lot. I maybe watched Coco like 5 times, and the ending still gets to me. Remember me, though I have to say goodbye. Remember me. Don't let it make you cry. So even if we're far away, I'll always in my heart. I'll play a secret song for you each night we are apart. Remember me, though I have to travel far. Remember me, each time you play a sad guitar, and know that you're the only thing. I forgot the rest of the lyrics. Onward is the epitome of an okay movie. It's super just okay. It's super just okay. Soul, I actually freaking love. I love Soul. I love it so much. I might actually rank it like around here. We better hope no one steals Bolt's voice. I'll sing Remember Me. Because I really, really like this song. I like the kind of reggaeton version of it. The one that like plays during the credits. Remember me, though I have to say goodbye. Remember me, don't let me make you cry. So even if I'm far away, I'm always in. I'll hold you in my heart. I'll sing a secret song for you each night we are apart. Remember me, though I have to travel far. Remember me, each time you hear a sad guitar. Just know that I'm with you the only way that I can be, until you're in my arms again. Remember me. Fuck, I love that song so much. But yeah, I love Soul so much. Soul's message, about finding your spark, or like feeling like you're running out of time and trying to get the most out of life. It's such a good, mature, nuanced message. I wish this film did better. And like, look, there's some things I don't like about the film. I don't like the fact that we have such good black character designs, and yet we don't get to like sit with them for nearly as much as we want to. But damn it, there are just so many moments in this film where you just breathe and let the world in. And it's, fuck, I'm gonna rewatch this film like either tonight or tomorrow. Like, I'm in a really big mood to rewatch this film. It's so good. Luca. I forget Luca is a Pixar movie. Luca's really good. Luca's really cute. It's a really cute, really gorgeous film that I feel like I'll never get tired of rewatching it. It's really good. So I'll put Luca here. Okay, Turning Red, no joke, I actually think is a really, really great movie. Like a really great Pixar movie. I would probably rank it. No, I think I'll actually rank it just before The Incredibles. I think I would rank it ahead of The Incredibles because Turning Red, I don't relate to it the same way that I relate to Encanto, but I do think it's more creative visually than Encanto. I think it has the potential to hit more kids and hit more families than Encanto. I feel like Encanto is speaking to a very specific family and relationship dynamic of generational trauma. Whereas Turning Red, while it does also hit like a very specific family dynamic, I feel like it's a family dynamic that I think more people can relate to. So I love Turning Red. Actually, probably gonna get a flag for this. I'll put Turning Red. I'm gonna put it above Tarzan and The Lion King. Yeah, fight me. And actually, I'm gonna put Toy Story 1 and The Incredibles above The Lion King. Yeah, I feel comfortable with that. Because I do think like these films have like hit me and been more emotionally resonant with me than The Lion King. I feel like The Lion King is almost more here for reputation. It's a good movie. It's a very good movie, and I like it a lot. But there's that added category of, does it personally resonate with you? And it doesn't. Not as much as the other films on this list. Lightyear. It's okay. Actually, it's meh. It's very meh. I'll put it ahead of Lady and the Tramp. I'd sooner watch Lightyear than I would watch any of the other bad Pixar movies. But it's so fucking painfully meh. It's like they took an abandoned sci-fi script and decided to make it a Pixar movie. I'm like, no. Okay, and this is the last Disney movie on this list that I've seen. Elemental. I think it's okay. I'll put it. There are some things about Elemental that I like and I really respect. I like that a lot of the film is kind of about the immigrant experience. And I wish we had more films that were like that. I wish we had more films that were kind of a little bit more like, yeah, not just a fish out of water story, but more of like a acclimation type of story. Like, I want more stories about people visiting a strange new land and actually learning to live in that land. And I do like the main character. I like and respect the hell out of her journey. I relate to it a lot as somebody who also sometimes struggles with being like, I have a temper, but I also kind of struggle with being open about what I want versus what my family or my friends expect from me. I think if the story was just about her and her family, I think it would be perfect. I actually don't like the love story in Elemental because the love story is predicated on the guy being the one to push her to pursue her dreams. And I don't like the guy because I feel like he's the worst person who should be encouraging her specific character arc, because the idea, I think it clashes a little bit with the immigrant message of the film, because it's implied that he's more like, I know it sounds weird because he's played by a black actor, but I feel like, what is his name, Wade? I think he's a little too privileged. I don't think we see Wade go through any hardship in the movie or in society to understand what the main girl is going through. And thus, I don't really see any situation where he should be the one to like, be like, no, you should like pursue your dreams no matter what the world says. And I'm like, bitch, what did you go through that allows you to like come at this person who has spent her whole life needing to like deal with a situation that you've never dealt with before? I don't think he's a bad guy. I just don't like the way that, I don't like his role in the movie. And I think that does hold the movie back a lot. I'll put it behind Moana. Yeah. Oh. There we go. And I did not see Inside Out 2 yet. I'm waiting for it to come to streaming. But you did bring up 2 more movies that we did not add to the list. So you know what? We got a little extra time. I'll add them. Now these are clearly Fox movies that Disney just released. There's Rob's Gone Wrong. Save image. There's Rob's Gone Wrong and what was the other one? Spy something. Oh, it's just called Spies. Yeah, this is the one with Will Smith and what's his name? I don't even remember their names. I just remember the actors because that's the only noteworthy thing that stands out in my brain about this movie. I did watch this movie with my kids at school, and some of the gadgets and inventions are creative. Here, let me add them. Some of the gadgets and creations are interesting. Oh, whoops. But it's just a very meh movie. Like, you know the character arc that everyone is going to right from jump. Oh, it's Spies in Disguise. You know the character arc that everyone is going. Whoa, no, it's not that bad. You know the why is my? Oh no, my like mouse had a delay. Fuck, where did I put this? There we go. It's. I think it actually no. I think that is a good place. I think it's on the same level as Bolt, where maybe a little bit better than Bolt, but like it's a very disposable movie. Like there's really nothing to it. It's a movie that is purely sold off of, hey, look, it's Tom Holland and Will Smith, guys, cheer. That's basically it. Rob's Gone Wrong, though, I actually really fuck with this movie. I like the commentary of it. I like that the whole film is about like what it really means to make a friend with somebody. I think it's the kind of film that unintentionally ages like a fine wine the more we get reliant on like our iPhones and stuff like that. I know that it's in reference to like a toy, like one of those bean toys. But I like the fact that they were able to take the design and build off of it and make a very unique idea. So I'll actually rank this pretty high. I'll actually put this right behind Meet the Robinsons. I think it's got a similar like heartfelt message at the end. And it didn't pussy out with like with its ending. I actually really like the way that they contextualize the ending. But yeah, that's it, guys. This is my Disney tier list. These are the films. I know you can't see some of it with chat, but this is a rough idea of how I feel about most of the animated Disney films that have come out in the past couple of decades. I'm sure we're missing like 2 or 3 or something, but these are most of them. And yeah, I'm actually really, really proud about how they came out. So I'm gonna save this. Here's our list. Download image. And I'm gonna post this on our Twitter. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys a lot. Whoops. Whoa, too close. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this. I do think, thankfully, this has been a much better and much more stable stream compared to last time. Although it does get me wondering, would you guys rather, both in live chat and after the video goes live, I'd love to know what people think in the comments down below. I want to know, would you guys like to see more tier list streams like this, or would you rather have more retro gaming streams on Twitch? Not on Twitch, on YouTube. Would you rather see more retro gaming streams on YouTube? Because I'm for both of them. I do like the idea of doing these shorter streams on YouTube and like still sticking to Twitch on like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Hopefully we'll be able to get monetized soon. Be on the lookout. I actually have a new YouTube video planned to come out real soon. So, but aside from that, yeah, thank you all so much for joining me today. And I will see you all, well, not next week. I will be away next week, but look forward to some of the new fun videos that I have planned out. Hey, bye-bye.